Know the difference with Annex Wealth Management. Here comes part 2 of our spring cleaning for investments. We talked last week about quite a number of things, including sitting down and starting with a list to talk about your plan, knowing what you own. If it does need to make sense at some point, what individual investors should do as far as looking at fees, and then talking about what you can do coming out of tax season. In the studio, Dr. Brian Jacobsen, Chief Economist. Hey.
Hey, good to be here.
Welcome back, Matt Morzy, Director of Research.
Hey, Danny.
Let's talk a little bit about performance. Some people are really glued to performance, others are not. Guys, what's your thought on tracking performance?
Vital to track performance, right? As far as are you getting what you pay for? But keep in mind that the performance should really be done within the context of the benchmark for the manager. So if you think about, if you're a third grader, and are you going to be compared to other third graders, or are you going to be compared to sixth graders, right? It's very similar here. What's the benchmark for that investment for that manager, but then also within the context of your overall portfolio? The way that I like to put it is that you really want to build a Super Bowl team, not a Pro Bowl team. Because if you watch the Pro Bowl, they've gotten rid of it because it's been so boring. Now they're doing flag football and different skills contests. You really want that Super Bowl team instead of the Pro Bowl team.
And it's sometimes not always the team that might look best on paper.
That's correct. So what you don't necessarily see at the end of the day when you look at performance numbers is how much risk is being taken with there and what the ride was like to get there. You think a lot of times when you can see two funds that might have the same rate of return for a 1 year, 3 year, 5 year time period, but if one of them is really volatile and the other one isn't, are you going to be able to take on that ride? And do you really even want to take on that ride? You really want to find somebody that when you adjust that performance by risk gives you a smoother ride to the end that allows you to take part of that, get there and make sure you don't do it, because a lot of times people pick funds that, hey, last year this was the best performing fund in this area and it took a lot of risk to do so. Well, the next year it might be the worst fund in that area because all that risk that it took might end up working against it the wrong way. They bail, but if they bail at the time where that fund's about to take off again, and that is really, really common, especially with actively managers.
We're talking about spring cleaning for investments, kind of a comparison to spring cleaning for our houses. Let's talk about clutter. Certainly in our houses, it can be in our portfolio, and that's really a clog, isn't it?
It can be. If you think about keeping track of everything that's in there, is there a way that you can consolidate things, kind of clean it up, make sure that you're tidying up your portfolio, having the right assets in the right accounts, in the right quantities as well? Is there an opportunity for you to consolidate accounts? If you have multiple brokerage accounts, that can make it a little difficult to do that x-ray, that look through as to everything that you have. Now, maybe you do want to diversify where those brokerage accounts are. So there's nothing wrong with that, but it is something to take into consideration. Also, can you consolidate the different positions? Let's just use as an example an S&P 500 index tracking mutual fund and an ETF. So they do the same thing, but in slightly different packages. So is there a way for you to reduce the number of holdings and still get the same result?
Spring cleaning for your investments. We've talked a lot about behavioral finance lately. How can investors guard against emotions derailing spring cleaning?
Yeah, the behavioral side is especially important when we see time periods of volatility like we've seen this year. Taking a step back and not allowing your emotions to drive for you is going to make a big difference. Like we talked just a few moments ago about chasing funds that are doing well and bailing at the wrong time. Same thing with the stock market as well, too. When the market's pulling back, that's not the time to take risk off. You want to do that when the market's doing well and you're acting in a period of strength. When you look at the actual investments you have, you might have a natural tendency to say, hey, this stock did really well for me before. I really like it. And there's a personal attachment to it and you ride it for way too long. Frankly, a lot of times you ride it all the way down thinking it's going to get back to that price that it used to be at for you. And that's where you had it. Or maybe you were gifted stock by somebody as well, too. And there's a personal attachment there. And they may be for really good reasons. Hey, my parents bought this for me, they gave it to me, or they worked at this company. That's awesome. But when you're looking at your overall financial picture and what your goals are, you might want to look through how you can kind of manage through some of those emotions around those types of investments.
Spring cleaning for your portfolio. So once this is all done, anything left before we take a nap?
Well, rehydrate, right? I mean, that's probably an important part as well. You should be doing that as you go. But go back to your plan. You start with the financial plan, build the portfolio, and then end with the plan and just check, is that portfolio aligned with the plan? And go back to that checklist. What were your goals? What are the constraints that you have? What are your resources? What's your tolerance for risk? And what's your capacity for taking on risk. You start with the plan and the list, and you end with the plan and the list.
Many Saturdays when I make my list, I will write down nap. I'm not kidding. Dr. Brian Jacobsen, our chief economist at Annex Wealth Management, talking about spring cleaning for investments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Matt Morzy, director of research at Annex Wealth Management. Thank you.
Thank you.